Here are the 5 things to avoid for a smooth probate real estate transaction. And stick around for the last one, you don't want to miss it. The first thing to avoid is not having proper documentation. At the beginning of the transaction, this could be not having a properly executed will or not having a properly executed trust. Why is it important to have these documents? A will is an item that denotes the wishes of the person who's passed. You're going to want to follow through with that, but the will needs to be properly executed, which means if it's unsigned, it is null and void. With a trust, sometimes a trust is done 10, 20 years ago, and the trust may not be up to date, but unfortunately, once someone has passed, you have to follow what that trust says. So, you're going to want to ensure that you have those documents and you take them to your attorney and that your attorney helps you follow through with the wishes of your loved one who's passed. Later in the transaction, documents are important for things like protecting you once a property is sold. You want to ensure that you have a probate attorney and a real estate professional who's experienced with probate. Why do you want a real estate professional who's experienced with probate? Because there are specific key documents that you'll need to have completed for the transaction to go through the process properly and for you to not have to deal with the potential risk of having something go awry later on after a buyer finds something wrong with the property. So, documentation is something that you want to ensure is accurate and well done, and you need professionals like an attorney and a real estate agent who can help you through those documents properly. Another thing you want to avoid doing is having a poorly appraised value of a property. If a property is valued at a much higher amount than what the property is actually worth, because the appraiser just drove by the front of the house or searched it up on Google and didn't go inside and missed that the entire interior of the home needs to be completely renovated because of damage or age, those things can make it challenging for you to get the home sold within what's called the 90% rule. A probate referee will come in and appraise a property, and the property must be sold within 90% of that valuation. So for example, if you have a property that you would like to sell and it is in probate and it is worth $1 million, right, according to the appraiser, you have to sell that property for $900,000 or more. So you walk inside the property and you realize that this home is in $1 million neighborhood, but the property is not in $1 million condition. What do you do? Well, your real estate professional and your attorney can help guide you through giving the probate referee the information that they need so that they can give you a better valuation of the property. It might cost a little bit of money to have a property reappraised, but it should be done. In most cases, the property will be appraised once we've already listed together. We will get it done after the fact. So we can go ahead and give information to the probate referee appraisal that will help them value that property based on the condition and not just on what it looks like on Google Maps. Something else that can affect the sale of a home or trying to get through the probate process is ignoring debts and liabilities. When you become responsible for estate, you are responsible for doing your fiduciary duty, which includes paying things like the mortgage. If there's no money to pay the mortgage, then you need to speak with your lender for that property as soon as possible and explain to them what the situation is. You need to get ahead of it if you can when there is still a mortgage, because that's going to give you the leg up when it comes to getting this property sold and getting yourself into a position where the lender is not trying to foreclose on the property and putting you in a tight spot. A lot of these items are going to be things that your professionals that you've hired will help you with. This includes your tax professional, your attorney, and your real estate professional. They're going to guide you through this process. And for us, our clients will occasionally have a property that still has a mortgage that's gone into foreclosure, and we as your real estate professionals, once you've hired us, we will then call the lender and get ahead of any foreclosure or mortgage information, or reverse mortgage for that matter, so that you don't have to worry about those items, and we also understand what the timelines are for that lender. Before we talk about that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell button. Okay, back to what we were talking about. The next thing would be ignoring your obligation for taxes and banking information. you're going to want to ensure that you understand what the tax situation is for the home. You're going to want to make sure you pay your taxes, because if you don't pay the taxes on the home, the taxes will go delinquent and then there will be fees for those taxes. Again, if there are not funds to cover things like taxes, those are things that we'll deal with once the property is sold. And, yes, there are going to be some delinquent payments, some charges that will be on there, but they will be handled with the sale of the property. But understand that you still have to pay these things. You still have to maintain the home. Regarding banking, you will not want to mix your personal funds with the estate funds. So you're going to want to get what's called an EIN number, and you can actually just go online and Google how to get an EIN number, and there is a way that you can just easily fill out some documents and get a number, EIN number, which is basically a tax ID number for you, for the estate, and you will then go and open a bank account specifically for the estate. This is so that any money that is pertaining to the estate goes through that account and not through your personal funds, because commingling is not pretty. Please avoid doing that. The last item to avoid, and I think that this is one of the most important items, is poor communication with beneficiaries. Poor communication with the beneficiaries for an estate can lead to things like disputes in court, disputes about items in the home. They can hold up the process for you if you're not communicating with them. Be sure to include everyone. Talk about what the plan is. Be sure to understand that these people who also loved whoever's passed might want to take Great Aunt Jane's necklace, and you're responsible for determining whether or not that was something that was in the will or the trust that needed to go to that person. And if not, then you have to find a way to civilly have a conversation with that loved one that Great Aunt Jill left that necklace to Susie and not you. And how do we have that conversation? Well, we have the conversation. We don't ignore it, right? We continue to have those talks with the rest of the beneficiaries. We tell them where we're at. It doesn't have to be challenging and difficult. In fact, a lot of times, if you're able to do so, communicating with the beneficiaries can actually make the process easier for you, because they might be able to help you handle some of these tasks. We've had clients who are, obviously, their fiduciary duty is to be the primary person for an estate, but maybe their husband is helping them manage some of these items. And everyone is being communicated with, but their husband is helping to ensure that the car is being properly handled that someone left. Or, maybe they're sifting through emails and verifying those emails. We've had clients that one person is the executor and the other person is their second in command, and that second in command person is prompt about responding to emails and on phone calls, but the person who's making the decisions is still the executor. Rely on the beneficiaries that are around you if you trust them, and give yourself the opportunity to make it easier by leaning into the people who are around you. Communication is key. I'd like to tell you a story. We actually have a set of beneficiaries right now that it's two sisters, and one is the primary person on this particular estate. And her sister worked together to empty the property. They worked together to make decisions about what upgrades to do. And one of them, the primary executor, she has a job that doesn't really give her a lot of time to respond to emails. And there are certain things that do have time constraints. And so her sister has been able to really fill a role for her that gives her a little bit more freedom, but also keeps her informed. Remember, these are the 5 things to avoid: not having proper documentation, not having a proper property valuation done that is accurate to the condition of the home, ignoring debts and liens, avoiding your tax obligations and banking, and the last one, poor communication with beneficiaries. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hit that bell button. And don't forget to stick around. I'm sure there'll be another video right after this that'll help you through the process.